when you joined Aims Department of Forensic Medicine, and why you joined?
I joined the Department of Forensic Medicine on 11th Feb 1991 as a PhD student, got it registered at Aims. I wanted to work on the latest technologies which was going on that time in the forensic field.
Mhm.
That is the forensic DNA fingerprinting. And I was aware that this facility was not available anywhere else in India at that time. So I believe with this lab under your guidance was the first lab to start the DNA fingerprinting and for the criminal cases. So that's what fascinated me to work on this topic and fascinated to work in a very reputed institute, academic institute of the country.
Okay.
And I wanted to work on DNA fingerprinting technique, which was not possible at that time any other institute in the country. I prefer to work at Aims, being a reputed academic institute. And this was the time when the forensic DNA was coming up. It was though it was started for the civil cases, but eventually this technique was used in the criminal investigation also.
Mhm.
But yes, since it was the latest technique that time, and I want because other techniques were already in use in forensic field, but this was the latest technique, and that's what attracted me to work at Aims and work on this topic for my PhD thesis. And then I continued to work at Aims. I got recruited as a scientist then in 2000, probably 2001. I joined as a scientist on 21st November 2001 on the regular enrollment of the Aims. And this DNA finger has been so fascinated a technique which has solved many cases in India as well as all over the world. And it during my PhD, I would like to mention that it was the conventional technique being used at that time where we used the radioactive material. So that time I had a collaborator at NII, and I carried part of my work at NII because the disposal of radioactive material, the arrangement was not available in Ames. But yes, at NII, since it was a full-fledged research institute, they had all the facilities for the radioactive counters and the disposal of the radioactive material since it is a health hazard. So part of the work was carried out over there. But when I joined as a scientist at Ames, by that time, the science had developed so much that the radioactive material was no longer used in this technique because by that time we had come up with the PCR techniques. And the PCR technique, it helped otherwise also because in forensic situations, not always we find a lot of the exhibits, forensic exhibits in a good situation because there's a lot of contamination possible. And so this PCR technique helped a lot in such situation.
Okay. So, what was your initial experience with the medical legal cases at Aims when you started doing?
Yeah, yeah, I had a very interesting cases when I joined as a PhD student, as well I joined as a scientist. When I was as a PhD student, a case was referred from Human Rights Commission, and when where the husband and wife they were both going under trial for a murder case. During this period, this woman she conceived, and the husband he alleged the jailer of this jail that he is the father of the. Again mentioned that we took in help from the scientist at NII because again because we at that time it was at the baby stage in our institute or in India in fact, and we had to carry out the work using the radioactive material. But I remember that this when the case was referred to Aims, it wasn't taken up when unless she delivered the child, because at that time it was very difficult to distinguish between the mother alleles of the mother and the child, newborn child, because the placenta, which carries certain cells, are attached. So it was decided that let the lady, this female, she delivers the child and will take up the case. So after she delivered, the case was taken after the 2 months of her delivery. This was the first case, which was very fascinating, and which was a, I mean, it was a breakthrough in this forensic field, that it could be solved with 100% accuracy to know the father of this child. And I would like to mention now, since it's no longer the sub judice, the father of the child was the actual husband, not the jailer. So this is really what was like flashed that time, and with the 100% accuracy, the forensic scientists or the Aims could say that who is the father of this child. But when I joined Aims as a scientist, I have dealt with number of cases of the national level, and that was really fascinating. We have dealt with the cases like Nithari, like Godra, Arushimaja case, and Prathul Dev case, the Kashmir Shopian case, and they were highlighted so much on the national news. But I had the privilege to carry out the DNA
Oh,
fingerprinting in all these
Anupama,
cases.